Hey guys, a little different style of video here for you today. I'm not doing a training commentary. This is an off day for me, but I've been getting a lot of questions from some of my clients and have also been thinking a lot about a very specific topic, the idea of core training for a powerlifter and how poorly implemented I see a lot of people training it. Conventional ab work is often done with crunches and sit-ups and a lot of things that don't really tend to carry over very well for a competitive powerlifter, someone whose primary focus is to use the core in a very specific way to improve their performance. I will preface all of this by saying I'm not a doctor of exercise science. I don't claim to know everything. These are just some observations that I've made through my own personal experience and experiences that I've witnessed with other people. If someone comes into the comment section and decides they want to be aggressive and fight me on this, then they're just going to have fun with themselves. I'm not even going to, I can have an intelligent debate with you about it, or a discussion is probably a better way to go about it. These are just some thoughts, and if you can find something helpful from it, I hope you do, and if it offends you to your very soul and core beliefs, then I'm terribly sorry for offending you, and leave a like rating anyway. So first of all, the biggest thing that I see being a problem with ab training when utilized in an athletic situation is a lot of the movements focus on collapsing the body. When someone's doing a crunch, when someone's doing a sit-up, they have this kind of collapse where they're losing their bracing of their spine, they're losing their neutrality. And as powerlifters, we work so hard to make yourself as immovable as possible in this situation. You don't want a whole bunch of unnecessary thoracic movement or a whole bunch of spinal movement during the lifts. In fact, it's really dangerous to have your spine going crazy in the middle of a squat or a heavy deadlift or even in a bench press. You don't want a lot of movement. You want to center yourself, you want to ground yourself, and you want to be an immovable object except in the areas where it's necessary to move to complete the lift. And so for my clients and for my own training, I implement two movements that I think are better, but the primary core belief, I guess, about the core training is that you are not collapsing the body. Every time you're training your core for powerlifting, you should be focusing on keeping an extended, strong, consistent, rigid torso. Which seems a little weird when someone's like, how do I train my abs like that? There are two movements that I think really demonstrate this well. There's many more that you could use, but the ones that I program for my athletes are the hanging leg raise and the ab wheel rollout. And I'm going to demonstrate how I like to see those performed and the cues that I think are really important for training them for these purposes. So here we go. All right, so the first movement that I want to talk about and the first concept that I want to talk about is the bad habit that people have when doing any kind of a leg raise of letting their pelvis and their lower abdominal area kind of turtle into itself and collapse the core instead of extending your hips and maintaining a good posture and that you want to carry over to your lifting. We focus a lot on diaphragmatic breathing. We focus a lot on making this big, solid, consistent core that isn't doing this. And so when I assign someone to do hanging leg raises or leg raises from the top of a dip position, a lot of times this is what I'll see happen, where they will push their hips back to achieve that. So they're still working their abs, but they're not maintaining that, that really extended hip position, and it kind of negates the effectiveness of the movement. And if anything, it trains a bad motor pattern and habit of when you're flexing this area of your body, instead of extending it and staying tight, rigid, and extended like this, they're collapsing in. It looks a lot like this. You see how the hips, I can't even stop swinging because the hips shoot back and kind of turtle back like that. That can train your abs effectively, but I really don't think it's nearly as effective as some alternative ideas, and it definitely doesn't get the spirit of the movement when I assign that to my athletes or when I'm training it myself. The way that I like to do these, is the way that I see gymnasts perform them, which is with an extended hip position. A lot of the times when you see people doing it that have a really great facility for it, they have like a wall with boards or a bunch of grip areas along the back, and so the hips can't move back. They're forced into this extended position. They have to collapse the legs up. But for the purposes of a commercial gym or a garage gym in this case, it's effective enough to just put something there to stop you from turtling back. So if I move to this handle, this bar is going to be, that's the purpose it will serve. You could also mimic that or duplicate that if you have a training partner who could put their hands on your lower back, or just one hand, or could turn around and put their back against yours. Whatever it takes to keep your hips from floating back and making the movement easier and targeting the wrong motor pattern, essentially. So you'll grab onto here, and this bar, I don't have to stay in contact with it, I just can't let it pull me back like that, so my hips remain extended. And you can see throughout that entire time, there's a lot less swinging going on. It's more controlled, it's more targeting this, and it relates a lot more closely to a powerlifting setting where you don't want a whole bunch of extraneous momentum movement. I don't want to swing my legs up there and hope to get a reflex effect of training my abs. I want my core to be solid and control that movement the entire time while demonstrating this good mobility, the thoracic and the spinal mobility of not having to reach up and have this part of my spine dislocate. I want this to all be solid without having to dip underneath. Okay, so the next motion I'm going to talk about is the ab wheel rollout. This is one of the cheapest pieces of equipment you can get. It was a total of about $10 to get this to me the day after I ordered it, essentially, from Amazon, with free shipping with Prime, whatever. It's a relatively cheap and just overwhelmingly underused piece of equipment, and it's super effective for training your core, especially when done right. A lot of people will train their core with, they'll just go like this and they'll come up. That's going to work your abs, no doubt about it. That's going to eventually get hard. But the way that we want to train this for a powerlifting purpose, again, keeping the core braced and tight, allowing yourself to get there and demonstrate that shoulder mobility that you want to have when you're prepping for a squat. You don't want your shoulders to be so tight that you can't get them under the bar and have your elbows flaring back. You want to be able to extend that arm up and still be strong in that position, not feeling like you're going to tear your shoulders out of the socket. Also, with my feet, eventually I want to move towards a crouching or a standing ab wheel, because eventually this just isn't as hard anymore and you will get better. And to progress, it's good to keep your feet like this, because every time I come up, I'm detraining myself for the ability to progress in that movement. So if I keep them down like this, it makes the later iterations easier to adjust to. So the way that I want to do this is you get set here, start out a little bit like this. Don't sit back and lean here and rest every single time. Get out here, and I'm going to go forward. I'm going to try to maintain that braced core, come down, let my shoulders unhinge a little bit and move forward and exhibit that mobility, staying braced, staying strong, keeping that intra-abdominal pressure, and then reversing the movement. So that here's wrong, and this is what I want my clients, and this is how I train it to perform the movement. And you can go to a side, you can go to the other side, but the idea is you're getting there, demonstrating that control of that mobile position while keeping this all braced, and being able to come back up without letting my feet go all over the place, without losing control, and without just banging into the movement and expecting your momentum and counter momentum to carry you back. Pretty sure that's not a real thing. Maybe it is, I don't know, like physics. The progressions from here would be, I'm only going to demonstrate the first one right now, because if you're doing these right, you probably don't even need to do the standing ones at this point. But if that gets too easy, alter your start position like this, and you'll notice now I can't, in here I could cheat and come back and rest and wait for my abs to stop hurting in between reps. Here, you're in this runner's pose. There's no resting. I'm contracting my core, trying to keep it braced this entire time. It's really difficult to talk to you while I'm doing this. And then I start moving, then the knees collapse. And then back into that crouch. That's a lot harder. It trains the core, it keeps you tight in those positions. That's the idea, that's the recurring theme. You don't want to get to the point where you're just swinging your legs, you're swinging your upper body, waiting for this to get tired. You want to brace, control the movement, and stay solid throughout this entire midline of your body. That is going to transfer over to lifting more weight in the long run, and that is the focus you need to have when you're training your core as a powerlifter. So while there are so many different facets to this conversation that I cannot possibly go over in the scope of this video and what I'm talking about, these are a couple of the considerations that I find to be really useful for a competitive powerlifter and for almost anybody that's really trying to train for performance over something else. Remember, even when you're training any muscle, any movement, any whatever you're doing, you're also embedding a motor pattern. If you get yourself used to the feeling of collapsing in, it is harder to prevent that. If your training of your core and all this stuff has to do and focuses actively on keeping an extended, braced, solid core, it's going to translate over much better into your competition lifts. This is never beneficial for a squat. This is never beneficial for a deadlift. This is never beneficial for a bench press. And training your core to be better at doing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to someone like me who cares about those lifts a lot. Again, if you guys have comments, leave them down in the comments section. Let's get a discussion going about this. If you have opposing views, I am open to hearing them. If you're one of my clients or you're someone who really kind of subscribes to the same ideals that I do when it comes to my training, these are the things that I consider when I do my core training. I have a few other things that I might do from time to time, but this makes up the bulk of it. And those are the important factors: that braced, extended hip position for the leg raises, releasing the shoulders at the top of the ab row rollout, and making sure that you're not resting at the start of the movement. You have to make sure that these factors are taken into consideration if you want to get the most carryover towards your total, and that's the goal. So thank you guys for watching. I apologize if the quality of this video is not as high as some of you might like to see, and definitely no Johnny Candido when it comes to that editing grind. But I'm trying my best to give you guys a little bit of different content, and hopefully this was informative and possibly helpful. If one person benefits from this, it was worth it to me, so let me know if you want to see more stuff like this, or if you just want to have me go back to lifting and talking afterwards. So hope you're all having a great night, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.